Welcome back to the Science of Weight Loss, Part 2. On a physiological level, weight loss is a continuous metabolic adaptation process that involves many biochemical and physiological changes, involves the roles of hormones, enzyme functions, metabolite effectors, and bioenergetics. God, that is a mouthful. What this means for you is that there are a lot of things going on inside of your body when you lose weight. And weight loss changes the body. Duh, that's what we want to happen, right? We want the body to change. But these metabolic adaptations, these things that happen, is basically how your body reacts in the face of calorie restriction and burning stored fuel, aka excess fat. All of these things that the body does to react to the environment that it has found itself in when it's actively losing weight are designed to actually help your body not lose that weight. Because remember, we talked about fat is a survival protection for the body. It is designed to easily be able to add fat to the body, but very, very hard and difficult to lose it because, from an evolution standpoint, as a species and all things when we think about keeping us alive, it wants to sustain that energy. It wants to have that storage to give you energy when you need it. So it was always designed. It does not really want to lose that fat, not because it's working against you, not because it's evil or your body's broken or anything along those lines. It is doing this because that's what it was designed to do from an evolution standpoint. Fat is doing its job. Your body is doing its job. It does not want to lose that stored extra fat easily. Because if you're able to lose it very easy, then it wouldn't have mattered when, again, there was many catastrophes happening in Earth and the mammal species needed to survive and become the human species that we are today. If fat loss was easy, then none of that would make sense. So the body does not want to lose it. It has not evolved to handle the situation that we find current human beings in, right? The body was not designed to say, okay, well, hey, we're going to eat, an extra bowl of M&Ms every single day. It was designed like, hey, there's an ice age. We need to survive. Like, you know what I mean? It was not designed to handle the way that we are creating situations of excess fat based off of our lifestyle and based off of our eating in present day. It was created to help us survive through evolution. So all of these things that are happening is not because your body's broken, so it's not working against you, it's doing its job. It's very confused. And this does not mean that you cannot lose fat and it's impossible and all diets don't work and why even bother and whatever. Like no, that is false. What it does mean is that we need to think about this. We need to structure our nutrition plans and create lifestyle habits and create learnings and create mental skills, create things that we can use in our toolbox and we can build and learn that actually address dealing with all of these things because it's going to happen regardless of you, one, being aware of it, or two, caring about it. If you say, whatever, I don't care about any of this, it doesn't really matter, I'm just gonna, restrict my calories and whatever. Come back in a month and let me know how that went for you. Let's talk about how it has gone for you in the past. We need to understand, and this is exactly why I created this program, this fat loss flow, the nutrition part that we'll eventually get to, trust me, is established with all of these things in mind. You don't have to be aware of these things. You don't have to think about them every day. You don't have to consciously, be like, okay, so what's going on in all these biochemical changes and things like that. I'm sharing this with you and I'm explaining these things to you so you have the background knowledge, but know that the structure of eating and framework that I'm going to give you and we're going to go over and we're going to implement already addresses all of this stuff in a very, very easy way. So you don't have to think about it. That's my job. My job is to understand this stuff. My job is to develop programs based off of what is actually going on. I'm sharing with you and I'm teaching you so you have an awareness and that knowledge, but the eating structure and all the mental skills and all the aspects of flow and finding ease and finding joy in health and finding peace in change and behavior change specifically are designed so this is not a completely miserable process for us. And it has all of these factors weaved in throughout. So these are the guys that majorly affect your fat loss. These are the hormones that I call fat loss major leaguers. They're going to have the biggest impact on how your body efficiently is able or not able to lose fat. So we think about appetite. Leptin and ghrelin affect your hunger and fullness and your desire and urges to eat. When you lose weight, leptin actually increases in the body. It makes you feel even more hungry and it drives you to eat more because, again, the body's like, whoa, 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 we don't want to lose this fat. Get that back, get that back. So it does this as a reaction. So you must build your meals to contain adequate amounts of healthy fats in order to combat this. Otherwise, you will always feel hungry after you lose weight. You will always feel starving because you probably don't have adequate amounts of specific nutrients that help you manage this. And when we talk about fat storage release, the process of losing fat means metabolizing stored triglyceride, stored fat in the body, uses it up for energy and releases it. Insulin and cortisol are huge in impacting how your body does this, the process of it. When you have instances of out of control stress, when you're stressed out about everything under the sun and you're not dealing with it and you're not addressing that and you're in a state of out of control stress, or maybe you had some trauma stress in your life that you need to heal from and deal with and manage before you even think about doing a fat loss goal, this will make it very difficult for you if you're not addressing that. If your body's in a state of out of control stress levels, because, and I say out of control specifically because, again, there's healthy levels of stress. Fat loss in of itself stresses the body. That's okay. Exercise stresses the body. That's okay. I'm talking about out of control stress, unmanageable stress, stress from lifestyle, stress from underfueling, stress from malnourishment, those types of things. And then again, not doing things to combat your lifestyle stress. So if you're just every single day stressed about work, every single day stressed in your relationship, every single day stressed about whatever's going on, and you're not dealing with those things, then this whole process of trying to lose fat is going to be very, very hard. And when you have instances of dysregulated blood sugar, that creates patterns of dysregulated insulin responses. And when that's happening, when insulin's high, fat loss is halted, fat loss is paused, high levels of circulating insulin stop fat loss from happening. So if your body's dealing with that day in and day out after every single meal all the time, that it's like, yo, I cannot lose fat. Like, that's not a priority. A priority is dealing with the blood sugar. So you have to address what's going on with your blood sugar before you're asking your body to, hey, let's lose some fat now. Fat detoxification, estrogen, progesterone, two hormones that play very strong roles in your body's ability to detox fat toxins. You need to look at what your detox and elimination portals are doing and support them by eating nutrients that are going to make those organs function at optimal levels. Because when we talk about releasing stored fat, burning that fat, burning that stored fat on the body, that also releases stored toxins because fat tissue is used to store all types of things in your body. It's almost like as I mentioned, backup generator, a street sweeper. It kind of just sweeps everything up. It's like, all right, we'll just stuff it into your fat tissue, stuff it into your fat tissue, stuff it into your fat tissue so it doesn't create a problem for the rest of the body. But then when you're releasing that fat, which is the goal, which what we want to do, all of that comes out within the body. So if your liver and your kidneys and your other organs, your digestive system, your colon, if those processes are not functioning optimally, then your body is not as equipped as we want it to be to handle dealing with that. And there's instances where you can actually feel sick and you can feel much worse on your weight loss journey if like that's a sign. If you feel like sick as you're losing weight or you feel like very like what's the word I'm looking for? Just run down. Again, there's going to be some instances of obviously your body's going to slow down. So you might feel a dip in energy because you're not eating as much calories. So that is normal. But this is like a absolute rundown. Your immune system shot, you're getting sick, you feel awful, you feel sick, that those types of symptoms are actually indications and signs that your detox and elimination portals and likely some of those hormone pathways and and nutrients that are cofactors in those pathways need to be looked at, need to be addressed before one, your body can continue, and two, you can access this fat loss without feeling absolutely horrible and making it a huge, miserable process. And then when we talk about burning fat as fuel, your thyroid hormones, DHEA, testosterone, etc., those hormones are very important for the body's ability to utilize fat as fuel, aka burn it. So you need to release the fat from storage. That's a metabolic process. You need to break down that fat. That's a detoxification process. And then you need to burn that fat. So that's utilizing it as fuel, utilizing it as energy, breaking it down so you can breathe it out and get it out of the body. All of those things are metabolic processes. All of these hormones highly impactful to each of these different types of processes. And when we think about testosterone, this is why males tend to have an easier time losing fat because of their higher testosterone levels. And when we think about this picture in totality, if you are struggling to lose weight, or before you even begin to try to lose weight, if in the past you have tried many times, you've done all the things, you have put in a lot of effort, and you don't see results, and you step on the scale, and the number body weight is not moving anywhere, and you're like, what is going on? We need to understand what your hormones are doing in your body. And this is exactly why I utilize comprehensive blood panels, full thyroid panels, and things like Dutch testing and GI map testing for my private clients, because we have to look at that picture, especially in instances if we're struggling to see progress, struggling to be successful despite putting in a lot of efforts, and if we have a large amount of body fat to lose, we want to approach it from a standpoint of like, let's get these baselines checked so we can see what we're up against, we can see what we're dealing with. And that in of itself allows you to create a very tailored, very specific type of protocol if you're somebody who's struggling. And these hormones are what I call hunger, fullness, minor leaguers. So peptide YY is released after eating. It binds to receptors in your brain, so it decreases your appetite and makes you feel full after you eat. It also slows down the movement of food through the digestive tract, which again makes you feel full because it's not moving through your GI system right away. And this hormone is stimulated by fat and protein. So there are specific levels and types of nutrients that trigger this hormone to be released. So if you're not eating enough protein, for example, and your body doesn't detect that in the GI tract, peptide YY is not going to be released. So there's going to be no signal that you start decreasing your appetite and desire to eat. You're going to still want to keep eating. And then GLP-1 is, obviously GLP-1 medications, a very hot topic right now, but this is another hormone that belongs to the incretins family. So it's an insulin secretion enhancer within the gut. There are specific type of hormones that live in the gut, and they encourage the release of insulin from the pancreas, increase the volume of cells in the pancreas that produce insulin, so these beta cells, and reduce the release of glucagon. So what this does is it increases the feeling of fullness between and during meals by acting on these appetite centers in your brain, and also again slows the emptying of the stomach so you feel fuller longer. So this is an example of why this type of peptide can work for certain populations and why they're actually so useful and not something to be scared of for certain circumstances when, again, a person might need help and assistance getting to their goal because it acts on the body in this way. And amylin is another peptide hormone, and this is released in response to nutrients like glucose, lipids, arginine, that's a specific amino acid, and this inhibits food intake, delays gastric emptying, which leads to reduction of blood glucose levels in the body and then body weight. So this works there. I call them BFFs with insulin. They work kind of in conjunction together, but this really drives home the other point that I was making of like, if you don't eat enough, for example, arginine. So the body's looking for you to consume a certain amount of this very specific amino acid. If the body does not detect enough levels, this is going to impact your body's production of this certain hormone, amylin, and that could be an issue for you because that is going to impact your hunger levels because, as I mentioned, what this does specifically is it inhibits your food intake and it leads to a reduction in blood glucose levels and can help with your body weight. So if you're not eating enough protein and you don't have enough fuel and the body's not detecting enough of this specific nutrient, you can see how this turns into a problem. And again, I use this as an example. You don't have to be, super specific, like measuring the amount of arginine that you're eating in every protein. Like, no. If you eat a high protein diet, you're going to be fine. But this drives home the picture that all of these hormones, and if you're feeling constant hunger, if you're not feeling full, if you're have constant cravings, your urge to eat, you have drive to eat, those types of things, you're not feeling full after meals, like your energy's impacted, all of that depends on the amount of nutrients that you're giving the body in order for it to do the things that it needs to do. And CCK is another hormone. It's produced in the lining of the small intestine and also inside the brain in some neurons. What it does is acts on receptors found in the gut and the central nervous system. It can improve digestion by slowing down the emptying of food from the stomach and stimulating the production of bile in the liver, as well as its release from the gallbladder. So it can help to increase short-term sensation of fullness. So during a meal, and this is another point that's highly impactful of if you don't eat enough fat in one meal, you're not going to feel full. And this is because CCK is not going to be released properly or as we want it to. Having this pathway and this hormone be produced and regulated by getting the signal from the body because you're eating enough healthy fats. That will stimulate the body to release this hormone and give you that sensation of fullness, so maybe you don't need to finish the entire meal. And then we have pancreatic polypeptide. It's a main stimulus for secretion. The parasympathetic vagal cholinergic, I don't know why I cannot pronounce that today, innervation. So in order for this hormone to be stimulated, you have to be relaxed. If you're eating meals and you're rush, and you're shoving it down your throat and you're, taking emails and in the car or on the go and you're not relaxed, this is not going to be released. This is not going to be stimulated. And this is stimulated by the presence of protein and lipid consumption. So that's fats. And as your stomach wall distends due to the presence of food. So this is why when we talk about fat loss flow eating, high volume with more veggies, because actually the distension of the stomach wall helps to release this specific hormone. And this promotes satiety by reducing your food intake and the rate of gastric emptying, gallbladder contraction, so you're able to digest your food properly, and pancreatic exocrine secretion, so you're able to get all those digestive enzymes that you need. So if you have GI problems and you're not relaxed when you're eating your meal, hello, what do you think is going on? And the neuropeptide Y, those are other, that's another one that really just affects your appetite and it helps with suppressing your appetite. So as I mentioned, these hormones, these are all impacting your drive to eat and how you feel full. As you can see, there are certain types of foods, nutrients, and even situations like being relaxed that are so important to the proper functioning, secretion, stimulation of these hormone pathways. If you eat in a way that mismatches them, you will feel hungry constantly, all the time, and you have a very difficult time overcoming food cravings. So head on to part 3 when we dive a little bit deeper into what all of this means.